top of the morning, and it is a beaut.
And the hope of the Irish as the future champion of the world.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio.
Welcome to the Barry J. McDonald podcast. The place where dreams get dusted off and acted on. Because life is too short. We're living on a rock that's flying through space, and hey, what the hell else were you going to do with yourself here?
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. And if you are a regular listener, that's if I have any regular listeners, you're probably thinking, boy, it's a long time since the last time we had an episode from Barry, and that is true. I think maybe I'm going to think about changing the name of this podcast to It's Been a While Since the Last Episode podcast. But the reason I haven't posted in a couple of weeks, or maybe it's a couple of months now at this stage, is because Barry came down with COVID, and at the time, just on the run up to that, I don't know what had happened to me, but I just completely lost the wind in my sail. I just felt unmotivated, didn't want to do anything, and I just kind of got fed up with all the kind of nonsense that was on the internet. So I had dropped out of social media, I stopped doing the podcast, I stopped sending my daily emails, and I just kind of put all my tools down for a while. So I'm back again, and let's see how far I can keep going on this part, maybe before something else happens to me. But let's put all that aside for a moment and talk about today's topic, which is a TV show that I have loved that has just come to an end this week, which is the Better Call Saul TV show. Now, what I loved about the TV show was that it kind of started off with a character that had only a kind of small part in Breaking Bad. And I remember at the time when it was kind of talked about on all the news channels that they were doing a spin-off and they were going to do a Better Call Saul, TV show. I kind of said to myself, well, I could see it because he was a kind of a bubbly character. He was fun to watch on the screen, but I didn't really see that he really had, his character had much legs actually to keep a TV show going. And I think at one stage they were talking about it being an almost like, what every episode was going to be Saul, where he takes on this client, and it was kind of like a comedy skit, rather than maybe some of the seriousness that had been in Breaking Bad. But anyway, little did we know that it would become the great success that it is. But then I suppose it wasn't surprising when we had such a great team behind Breaking Bad going into this TV show as well. And, the other day we had the last episode of the 6th season. And, when I look back over that TV show, we started off with a character that we knew very little about, and as the episodes kind of dropped, we learned more about him. He had more backstory. He had kind of problems. He had skeletons in the closet, and we seen him kind of sometimes purposely getting himself into really kind of weird and uncomfortable situations, but he always had a clever way of getting out of it, or maybe he just could get out of it with kind of a wink and a smile, and people would let him get away with whatever kind of mischief that he was up to. But I was kind of thinking about it, how characters, kind of stand a long time in a mind. I mightn't probably remember everything that happened in Better Call Saul, in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but that character will always stick in my mind. I'll always remember those funny moments and, the times that he made me laugh and some of the crazy things that he did. And it kind of got me thinking about, when it comes to, even business, a lot of business that stand in our mind nowadays, it's not really about the products. It's not really about the services. It's sometimes usually the person that's the front of the business. That is the thing that we remember it for. When you think about like companies like Apple, straight away if I say Apple to you, your mind is probably going to Steve Jobs. And even though Steve Jobs has been dead for a few years now at this stage, I can't even remember. I've heard his name before, the gentleman that had stepped into his place, but he isn't as memorable as Steve Jobs. He hasn't kind of, etched his kind of name or his personality into the business as much as Steve Jobs has. And even if we look at Tesla, if I mention Tesla to you, you are going to straight away think Elon Musk. If I say Amazon to you, it's going to be Jeff Bezos. And even if I mentioned like that I was going to go out maybe buy, some kind of grill for my, for my kitchen top, countertop, you'd probably think something like maybe George Foreman grill or something like that, because there's a name attached to it. And what I find a lot of people, unfortunately, is that they hide behind their business. They feel that, their products, their service, all that should be kind of pushed out on Front Street, and that they themselves should kind of step back. They should be kind of walking around in the shadows. They shouldn't really be discussing much about themselves. And I think if you are doing that, you are doing a kind of a disservice to yourself, because people usually buy products, they usually hire people to do certain services, usually because of the person that's involved with it. It's because the person maybe in that laundrette that we go to, they probably do the exact same service as maybe a laundrette service 2 or 3 doors down the road. But because we know the person behind the counter, or we know the owner, and we like that owner, that's why we bring their clothes to that person. So what I would say to you is, maybe if you are someone who is a little bit shy, or who feels that, I don't need to step, on Front Street. My products, my services, all of that will speak to me. I would say no. I think you are doing yourself a big disservice. And I think you should be putting yourself on Front Street. You should be stepping forward. You should be putting more of your personality out there. Even though maybe some of the content that you might be creating, or maybe writing about in a blog, or maybe in your TikToks or whatever, maybe it's a little bit different than what your business is about. Again, you've got Elon Musk. He doesn't always talk about Tesla. Sometimes he goes on about all these different kind of all these bitcoins and all this kind of cryptocurrency and all that. Maybe he has an opinion on a business, or opinion on Twitter or whatever, and people kind of follow him for his opinions and all his kind of, all his other content other than the stuff he actually mentions about Tesla. So you don't always have to mention maybe things about the business or service that you're in if you think maybe that is going to limit you. And when you think about it, if you do kind of put yourself out there, you are immediately going to separate yourself from everyone else. Even if we were all selling the same widgets, if I was selling the same widgets as you were, if I put myself out there, if I kind of push myself out there, put my name on the business, put a lot of content out there with me in it, you are going to look at my business in a completely different way than your business, because you are creating different content. You have a different way of looking at things. You have, whatever the reason you got into your business or whatever, it's going to be completely different than mine. Even though you and I could be selling the same products, the same software, the same services, people are going to look at it as, that's Barry's business, or this is your business, because they're going to look at it through you. And again, going back to the Better Call Saul TV show, when it comes to, even if they aren't ready to buy your product or service right now, they're going to remember you. They're going to remember you and say, oh yeah, that's Barry. He does such and such a thing. I must look up and see what he's writing about, or what product he's released, or, what's in his podcast today. So that's my advice coming back to you today after this kind of long break that I had over COVID. I was just kind of maybe giving some thoughts today. I put into an email to my list, and I just thought I would take it over today, because as I said, not everybody is going to join my email list. If you want to join my email list, if you want to go over to writecom.com, you'll find the website over there. Again, the website is Writecom. That's WRITECOME.com. Whatever time you land on that homepage, you will probably find maybe a free course or a free report. At the moment, I am giving away a great free report which is called 10 Ways to Make Writing. If you want to avail of that, if you want to head over to Writecom and download that. But you will find me hanging out on the blog over there. I'll be putting a lot of content out in the next couple of days, as I'm kind of getting a bit of wind back in my sails, and as I'm finally getting my mind and my body back to myself after COVID has kind of attacked it. But that is a situation at the moment, and that's why I have been putting podcast episodes up recently. So it's good to be back. Hopefully I'll be able to put these episodes out on a regular basis once more. But again, do remember, stop hiding behind your business, because a lot of people, as I said, do that. They feel, well, my products and services is going to sell, they're going to sell themselves. I don't need to do any work. But I would argue the point, and I think that you should be putting yourself out on Front Street rather than just kind of, being like everyone else, just being this kind of big ball of magnolia in whatever niche or whatever kind of market you're in. Don't be like everybody else. Put yourself out there, and people will look at your business completely different, because it's you that's at the front of it. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Before you go, Barry wants to show you how you can use the power of stories to sell more of your products and services. He says that if you head on over to the rightcom.com website now, he'll show everything you need to do. Have a great day, and thanks for dropping by!